Hello, and today we're going to talk about polymorphism, which is a function or a subset of inheritance. Now, in the last video, if you watched the inheritance video, what you had seen is that we start off with a human or an animal, then went down to mammal, then human, or car, CRV or whatever, and we kind of pass things along as we went. But it's at this point, it's a one-way direction. So in other words, if I created that junker LT from last time, it went through car first. Car first did its thing. Then the junker class did its thing, and then the junker LT did its thing, and then it got it just finished. Nothing special, but as you can see, there's nothing going back. There's no back and forth play. It was just essentially a railroad going through those three classes. Here in polymorphism, the child classes will be allowed to talk a little bit with the parent classes, and then that's going to open things up because it's going to be able to make things a little bit more flexible. So let's go and take a very simple example. And we have the animal button. So last time we had cars, now we have animals. And if you look at the animal, what you will see is we're going to start off with a Boolean check true. And really what this means is I'm just going to flip-flop back and forth between making animals. So last time we explicitly said, okay, here's car 1, here's car 2, here's car 3. This one, we're going to let the Boolean, whether it's true or false, create that class. And it's outside of any of these methods. So that's going to allow it to exist anywhere here inside of our bAnimal click. And what is bAnimal click? Well, that's our button, bAnimal. So whenever we click into bAnimal, we're going to go, and it's immediately just going to go into an if-else statement, do nothing else. And right now, check is true. So check is true. It's going to come in, is going to make dog, new dog, but then check is going to go to false, so it's going to flip-flop, and then go to making a cat, and then flip-flop again back to dog. So nothing too spectacular, but let's look through it. Well, in this case, last time the example I gave was animal, mammal, human, or animal, mammal, dog. Here we're going to just start off with a very, very, very simple beast class. And you'll see an overload as we go. If you want to make this, it doesn't take too long. Go ahead and pause. That will work fine. But we have three different inputs. We have nothing, we have a string, and then we have a string and a Boolean tail. So I guess we can always go back and set up the tail. Now, if we go through this and just did a generic beast, in fact, let's go ahead and do that right away. I'm going to just set this up to simplify it so you guys don't have to worry about the logic here first, and I can just do beast beast1 equals new beast. And that's it. If we hit start, it's going to say the beast says roar, and that's it. Because if you go into the beast class, the beast says roar. That is its generic piece. If you look at the forward slashes, let's go ahead and do it again. What that is doing in here, or in particular, is allowing us to put quotations into the brackets. And actually, what's driving me nuts actually is that I actually want that, I actually want to, not that, get rid of those spaces so it hugs the word. So the backslash allows for those quotes again. And if you remember, we were talking about this as the base class, and then we're going to derive two classes, cat and dog, or the derived classes are going to come from that. And hopefully what we can do is actually pass back what we want. If you notice right here, we have the word type, because it comes from here. So we can have the ability to pass back a string. So let's look at one, and we can use either one. I think I made them both out the same way. So cat has, or excuse me, dog has class dog beast, and remember that colon beast actually gives it the ability to inherit anything from the beast class. And then it's going to come on and do its merry way. But what we're going to switch up here is this right here. We're going to do a public dog, and guess what public dog means? Yeah, that's its constructor. Very good. And for those of you who didn't get that right, it's good. You did very well anyways. So that's the constructor that's trying to work. And as you can see, there's nothing working in this constructor. We're not doing anything with the constructor because what we really want to do is pass back information to the base class. So guess what we do? We say base, which is all in blue. It's a recognized keyword. And then we pass the word bark back, because what's that going to do? It's going to actually fire this constructor. Remember, it doesn't have a Boolean. We could throw a Boolean in there, but we won't. In fact, well, we will. I take it back. We will at the end. Because not all dogs have tails. I had a Rottweiler once, and Rottweilers have to clip those tails off. I don't know why. Well, actually, I do know why. I had an unclipped Rottweiler, and she would literally knock things off tables with the power of her tail. But that's a side issue. So there are some dogs without tails. So we're gonna leave that for the last beast here. Getting back to it, we have a bark that's going to get passed back to the beast, and it's going to use this constructor instead of that generic constructor in the beginning. So even though form 1 doesn't put any input in here, it initially actually I take it back. Let's get to the right one. Right, when we're going to create that new dog there, it initially goes through this beast piece and wants to fire that one off. However, we're going to be able to get down to the dog class and say, don't use that first constructor, use the second constructor, and I'm passing this word back. And that word automatically turns into the variable type, which is defined by that header. So let's give it a quick shot. And we hit animal, and the beast says bark. Notice it never says the beast says roar, because in the polymorphism, we are now morphing this animal from just a generic beast to a dog with a bark. And that space is still driving me nuts. But we'll see. Let's leave it there for now. And then, actually, you know what? I'm going to stop it here. So we get something totally different for the third. But first, here we go. I'm going to get rid of these spaces. So again, we get that nice tight hug of the quotation marks around, hopefully, the meow this time. Because we're going to go to cat, and it now says base meow. Right? So it's going to want to say meow. And more importantly, what we're going to also do is we can put a Boolean in here. We'll say bool true. Or actually, you know what? Don't bother doing that. Just do true. Or the correct spelling of true. And now it's going to pass his. Now we can go back into beast and say, if bool, if tail equals true, and go ahead and put those parentheses around there. Probably should have done that first, but that's okay. Then we'll just do another message box and say your beast has a tail. And I did not put it in a message box. Now when we do this again, oops, we're going to check out our errors. Oh, forgot our semicolon. Thank you, Visual Studio. And let's go ahead and click animal. The beast says bark because remember, it was true. Actually, let's stop and do this over one more time just to make sure that you understand it. Well, it's going to be true here at first. So the first one's going to be a dog, but then it's going to switch to a false. So the second time you come through the if-else statement, it should be a cat. So the first time it says, the beast says bark, and then we do a second time, and then the beast says meow, and your beast has a tail. So we're passing 2 bits of information now back up to that original beast constructor, and that is polymorphism at the crux. Can it get more detailed than this? Yeah, you can pass through a lot of things, because remember, we only have a base and a derived class. We don't have multiple derived classes here. So we only a hierarchy of just a parent and a child. We don't have a grandparent or great-grandparent or a super great-great-grandparent. But you can do that. You can go up and keep grabbing up there as much as you want. And this now gives us the flexibility to do different things, right? Because before, we were kind of landlocked into what we had to do. Okay, I have a car. I have a CRV. That's it. Now we can switch up, what that CRV has, go up into the top class and start messing around a little bit, because just like I played with the constructors here, remember you can do a function call here as well. So, I can call a function like, we'll do a catnip. Catnip one, a catnip method that does something, but it will only act if you have talk about the tails. And in fact, I could even take this catnip and put inside the Boolean, right? So now I have catnip that only exists when it's true, when you have a tail. It won't look for it if it doesn't have a tail. And so you can all of a sudden you can fire off all these special methods and functions down here based on what the polymorphism is guiding you to. All right, now come back next time, or one of the next times, because I'm going to start into composition and aggregation, which is kind of the reverse methodology to this, and it's going to open up our world to a whole bunch of different things other than